RIP DMX. Testing. 1, 2, 3. RIP DMX. I have conflicting feelings about the dangerous things that he said about homosexuals. Testing. 1, 2, 3 testing. He was also accused of sexual assault, I believe.
Oh boy. Testing. 1, 2 testing. Not excited to learn that.
About DMX?
Yeah, I kind of felt him a rap hero, if you will, but...
Well, I mean, DMX gets me, like, so pumped.
Like, I want to work out to his music.
Yes, exactly. DMX is my gym jam.
Yeah.
However, DMX has always been really, like, touch and go because of the whole blatant homophobia thing.
Sure, there's that. It's kind of a big one, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, he was, you know what they say. They say when you know better, you do better. And eventually, society changed. And DMX probably knew better.
But he didn't do better.
He did not do better. He did not.
I love that saying. When you know better, you do better.
Maya Angelou, boo.
Really?
Yeah, our girl.
Oh, love her.
Yeah. All right, welcome to Obviously It's Fake, the podcast. I'm Catherine Doherty.
And I'm Chelsea Potts.
This is going to be a fun, special episode, you guys. It's going to be a little change of pace, change of format. We're trying something new, and I hope you guys like it. Before we get to that, we have one quick fun announcement.
Just one?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's a bundle announcement, I guess.
Okay.
It's like two announcements in one. You're correct. It's two quick announcements.
All right. Just don't lie to anybody. You know
well,
what I mean?
yeah, you're right. I don't want to be
there.
like, I want to be telling the truth. You're right.
right.
You're right. So we have new merch, and if you follow us on social media, then you may have seen we have notebooks that are out now. Obviously, it's fake notebooks. They have this like really super cute design, and they were made for us by our friends at Pretty Alien Boutique, who we will put her information in the show notes. She's awesome. She makes a lot of really cool stuff, so you should definitely check her out. And part 2 of our announcement is Chelsea and I have finally gotten our shit together and are launching a Patreon for you guys, where you'll be able to subscribe to a couple different tiers. Some of the benefits that you'll get are this awesome notebook, some behind the scenes stuff, mini episodes. So if you're into that, if you want to see how...
I mean, sometimes it has everything to do with the episode. And
sometimes it has nothing to do with the episode, actually. Yeah, that's a good disclaimer.
It's a roll of the dice.
It's a roll of the dice. You never know what you're going to get. It is a cipher series. So, there you go.
And yeah, we're really I'm really excited about it because sometimes we're just funny.
Love that confidence, bitch. Love that confidence. I'm excited about it because we're fucking funny.
Yep.
There you go. And that's why you should be excited about it too. Now today's episode, oh Chelsea. I don't know what to say about today's episode.
All I can say is listen with open ears. Right? Open ears, open heart, open up all your organs. And just take in for what it is. Take it for what it is. You know, just kind of roll with it. You know?
Okay, so Chelsea and I conducted an interview with a gentleman of the name David Weiss. And Dave has a podcast called Flat Earth Podcast. He goes by the name Flat Earth Dave. And he contacted the show requesting to do an episode with us. And we thought that he sounded really fun and that it would be, a great experience to talk to a flat earther. And I guess it's like our bad that we didn't really take that seriously.
Right.
at the start. Like, we went in to the interview thinking that Dave was more of a comedian, if you will, than a conspiracy theorist. I guess you could kind of say. I don't know. It's hard to. We don't want to. One of the things that Chelsea and I do not want to do is, be disrespectful to Flat Earth Dave. He came on our show. He's a great guy. We have, full disclaimer, we're editing this interview down. We're not going to play the full interview on this episode today. If you want to see the full unedited interview with Dave, we are going to be putting that on our YouTube channel. So that'll be linked in the show notes. All of Dave's information will also be down in the show notes. He has some great resources available for his belief structure that he lays out very well. However, we don't really feel the need to list for you guys all of the reasons why Flat Earth Dave believes that the Earth is flat, and we don't want to play you an hour-long episode of Dave trying to convince Chelsea and I that the Earth is flat.
He almost got me, guys. I'm not gonna lie. It was close.
Yeah, no shit. I was pretty worried about you. He does it really well. Yeah. But, we could play you an hour of Dave. We could play you an hour of Neil deGrasse Tyson refuting him and giving you all of the scientific reasons why Dave is wrong. That's not really the part of the episode that felt very interesting to us when we were done with this whole thing. We even wrestled with whether or not it was appropriate to publish the episode, to be honest, because he does have some dangerous beliefs about coronavirus, and we don't want to contribute to that. We feel like the podcast has made its stance on COVID conspiracy theories very clear. He might be fine, and his flat earth friends might be fine, and, the other people in his circle who don't believe that COVID-19 is a real threat might be fine, but the other people that he comes in contact with, or the other people that they come in contact with, may not be fine.
True.
You know what I mean? That's
true.
That's the issue, and that's the danger, is that, spreading those ideas and normalizing those ideas that, it's bullshit and you don't need to wear a mask or follow COVID guidelines. It can hurt people.
You're right.
For sure.
Yeah. However, we decided to go with, what we're kind of going to do a bit of a commentary, if you will.
Yeah, so we were inspired in part by our friends over at Power and Consequence, because they have the interesting format of, breaking down something that they, feel is a piece of political propaganda and analyzing that language and the things that that person says and, what that means and how that affects people. And we sort of thought that this interview with Dave could be a really interesting look inside the mind of a conspiracy theorist. You know, we're going to hear Dave say some very interesting things, and we're also going to hear Dave use a lot of very repetitive language, kind of laid a sense of urgency under us about the situation. And he's also, going to kind of try to make us feel silly or stupid if we don't see his point of view. Not in a malicious way or anything like that. He's not mean to us. He was a lovely guest. And he seems like a great guy, to be honest with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. However, you'll see when we play it some of the things that we're talking about. So let's just get in to the good stuff.
All right.
Here we go.
Hello.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey, girls. What's up?
Not much. We're happy to have you. Welcome to Obviously It's Fake.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for having me. Awesome.
Absolutely. We're excited.
So, what are we doing? Let's go. What's the plan?
So Yeah, we're excited to have you on, and I'm very curious. So we did do an episode about flat Earth before, so Chelsea and I know a little bit about it from our research on our last episode. But I'm mostly curious to start with as how you got into it.
Everybody asks that question. It's always the first question. It's amazing. I've never done a show where that wasn't the first question. So, and I tell the same story, but I'll just keep it quick. I was doing a conspiracy podcast. And in the third year, people started sending me flat Earth stuff. Say, Dave, have you looked into flat Earth? I ignored it, thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And then
Okay.
I was finally forced to look by a trusted researcher. And I went in with the intention to disprove it. I went in with the intention to prove the Earth, not even with an open mind. And once you look and once you see, you can't unsee. So, you know, I just did a podcast, the Josta Show, and it's a heavy metal podcast. These rock stars are, they basically interview rock stars, and the guy from the Deftones, the lead singer from the Deftones, he is a full-on flat earther, and he was on, and he started spewing flat Earth on a show before me, and he mentioned my app, he mentioned me, and so that's how I ended up on the show. But I'm looking in the comments on that show, and it's all people just saying, "What has happened to Steph? You know, he's lost his mind. It's unbelievable. You know, did he go to school? I mean, just insult, insult, insult. Nobody. If you don't look into it.
Okay. So, yeah, Dave starts out pretty strong. And he's first coming at us from the angle of I was just like you, a curious skeptic.
Yep.
You know, very relatable, very on our level. So far he's talking about like normal things. And he's also pointing out how negative people are towards these ideas and these beliefs and immediately insulting. Yeah. I just love this sense of persecution that Dave has because it's definitely going to continue throughout the episode. This will certainly be a theme. All right, so let's continue.
The things that you'll say that are so ridiculous are unbelievable. Right now, you know, before we get into this, I know you guys have been doing a little research. If somebody says, I know the answer, whether the Earth is flat or round, I have $1 million for you if you can guess it on the first guess. What would you say?
Well, you know that we would say round. How did you first get into conspiracies, Dave?
I was always questioning things my whole life. And after 9/11 happened, I saw what I saw it with my own eyes because I was looking across Long Island Sound while I had a perfect view of it. And it wasn't what they said on television. It took me years to come around to that. But I started looking into what money was. I was always interested in how money worked. And then when I realized that, you know, money isn't based on anything and it's not even made by the government, it's made by a private bank, and it's how they control people. That's where I started. And then the deeper I looked into that, I started looking into the banking families and stuff. And it just grew from there. The deeper you look, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. And that's the name of my podcast, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole.
Why didn't we delve into that? I know we only had an hour with him, but why didn't we delve into that a little bit?
Well, I do think it's interesting that this is like that he says that that's the first conspiracy that he gets into, because that is a very like common, relatable first piece of interest into conspiracy theories is 9/11, and it pulls at your heartstrings in a very big way.
Because anybody you talk to has been touched in some way by 9/11. You know, it's like 7 degrees of 9/11.
Yeah.
It's awful. But yeah, so I do have to say, like, in this part of it, as far as the money and stuff is concerned, I get where the interest would be.
Oh, there's a lot of things that Dave says that are interesting.
Absolutely.
For sure. He says a lot of interesting shit. But he says a lot of interesting shit, and then he also says a lot of really wild stuff.
Definitely uncommon,
So,
I
like,
would say.
he is bringing us in with these, like, little pieces. 9/11. Money is fake. you
The
know.
government controls us with it.
Exactly. And we're like, fuck yeah, they do, of course.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, but we're gonna get a little bit more serious.
Yeah. Was your family like big into like were they like any interest in
My sister and brother believe everything on the mainstream news. We never discuss anything like that. My family, my wife and my kids, they all know. My wife's on board. She gets it. We're always looking into, the deceptions of this world and trying to live our best lives. And my kids, my kids know the earth is flat. They don't really talk about it much though, but they know.
Okay.
It makes you wonder how many other people, thinks that
It makes you wonder, like, who's raising the kids that are in class with your kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely. Wow. That's what you think about as a parent.
Yeah.
That's scary. All right, I'm sorry. Continue.
Are you mainly just focusing on the flat earth itself as opposed to, or just space in general, like what we're being told by the mainstream media
That's
about
a good question.
space?
How do you feel about other planets and space?
Yeah. So, flat, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but space doesn't exist the way they tell us. Planets, the only proof we have of planets are what Disney and NASA show us. And NASA admits that their pictures are made in Photoshop. They're paintings, right? Our optics have outgrown their lives. This is what you see when you zoom in on Mars. Okay, this is a scientific proven fact. We're going to lay out some new information today, and the question is whether you're able to accept it and adjust your position or not. And again, if I lay out something that you think is untrue, you can give me a reason why you think it's untrue. So,
Okay, so I find this super interesting.
I agree.
The way that he's talking here is, I feel like he's setting us up to, you know what I mean? Like, and this is, again, like, this is no offense to Dave. He's a great guy. And I'm not trying to demonize him really, but he does have, he's got a small following within the niche space that he is occupying. And he's preaching this to all of those people all of the time. And he's saying it in a way where he's setting us up so that it's like, if you have the ability to open your mind and understand this, then maybe we can get somewhere. It's like we've done something wrong and now we're going to make up for it.
I get why you would feel that. Yeah, I get that feeling,
It's like that choice of wording.
He has a very unique way with language.
I don't think that that's an accident.
I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, there's like people study like the language of sales,
Yeah. There's a bunch of books about, yeah. I don't know. And this is why I'm feeling more, I mean, Dave's a great guy and I respect his position.
here's a photo of a man standing on the moon.
But those photos, okay, so this is in my research, I've been led to believe that the reason why that photo looks that way and why like the surface of the moon isn't glowing is because of exposure levels. I happen to have a previous life in art school. Exposure levels will do that. If you have something that's heavily overexposed, when you bring it down, you'll have detail in those darkest areas there.
Go out and get 10 million lumens and try to take a picture and underexpose it. I don't think you could do it. Right. And that's 10 millions at 100 miles from the moon. Try going 50 miles from the moon, it'll be 40 million lumens. Okay. So, I stopped at 100 because it gets too ridiculous.
Well, wouldn't there be like, the visors on the thing, the lens on the camera?
No.
So I find it I don't know if odd or funny is the word. I find it, insert whatever word you want here, when you say, hey, this isn't what you're explaining it to be. And the
He's
retort,
ready. He's prepared.
the retort is, here, this is what you have to do. This thing that I just explained that was pretty much impossible for a human being to do, that's what you need to do to make it possible. So it's not possible.
Well, I mean, he's like very, he obviously he does this all the time. He's got a retort for everything. And so like, there's I did leave that part in there to like give an example of what it's like to kind of like go back and forth with Dave and ask him like a semi-reasonable question about this, which like I don't even know if I'm right about that. Like half the stuff that I said to him, I was just like, oh, I think I saw in a YouTube video somewhere once that like this refuted that.
Okay.
But like it was mostly like like I'm not an expert in why the earth is round. I just like
But he is very much an expert in his field.
He's very much an expert in why the earth is flat. You know what I mean? He's got an answer for everything.
I just found it odd that was kind of the way the conversation went at some points. It wasn't the whole conversation, but I don't know.
Well, it's definitely like, I mean, he sets us up like, obviously, this is a ridiculous, piece of crap that a fifth grader made. This is like an art project, whatever.
Yeah.
So he's like setting us up so that like if we don't believe him, like if we are not in agreement with him, then like we sound stupid, right? That's if you're trying to argue a point, that's what you do.
Sure. And
But that doesn't make him right.
No, I don't doubt his knowledge of his field.
Astronauts didn't develop. Did we go to the moon? What do you think about the moon? Did we go there or no?
So the question is, did we go to the moon? You gotta, have you ever looked into the moon landing? Have you looked into any of it?
We have, yeah. I mean, when you start looking into stuff like this is my thing with moon landing and flat earth and stuff like that. When you start looking into it, it feels like you have to be a scientist to disprove the claims that people are making. You know what I mean?
That's the giving your power to authority fallacy. So you have common sense, and they get you to trade your common sense in for nonsense. There's two men wearing diapers in here that took off from the moon and are connecting with an orbiter. This is a model over this is done in a studio. This is clearly done by a fifth grader. This is what they actually showed when the lunar lander was connecting with the lunar orbiter, right? These things are impossible. This is the actual footage from NASA.
Okay.
And what you're really seeing is a tiny, crappy little paper mache model that's being manipulated in a dark room with a moon background.
So I have to say here, and I wanted to stop it for 1 to 2 reasons. The model didn't look that bad to me. I mean, it was all right.
It's just like the way that is not, I feel like that's like not even the point of it. You know what I mean?
It's not.
Like, is the earth flat? Is the earth round? Did we go to the moon? Did we not go to the moon? Like, we're not going to answer those questions this evening. Spoiler alert. However, it's like the important part of this to take notice is that like Dave is essentially like he's using language where if we disagree and say, no, I think that looks really believable, then like obviously we're idiots that believe something that a fifth grader made.
Yeah, but you have to consider what he mentions optics a lot. You have to consider what the optics were back in the 60s versus what they are today. So looking at, we're used to watching movies in 4K.
Yeah, well, so our, one of the listeners on the Obviously It's Fake Facebook page just posted that video for us of the visual effects
Oh, right.
artists watching it was like they redid the moon landing footage with like IMAX effects or something like that. Like they digitally remastered it.
Yeah.
And they were like watching it and talking about the optics and like how you would fake this and like whether or not it would be possible to fake this and like what kind of detail you get in these situations. All of this stuff is like,
I feel like, did they not do the moon landing on Mythbusters like a
they do
million
this on
years
everything. Like
ago?
there's for everything that Dave says, there is 100 retorts from experts. You know what I mean?
If your sample size is big enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's like not even the point.
I know.
Like,
I forget what my second reason for stopping was. Oh, because he seems to also, and we talk about it as the interview goes on, he talks about.
Oh God, yes, that there's going to be a lot of they. I left in everything that he says about them.
I feel like he's talking about, and please correct us if we're wrong here, but I feel like he's talking a lot about like the powers that be, the government, the senators, the presidents, all of that.
No, he tells us who he's talking about. He's talking about the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the royal family.
So like the 1%.
The Zuckerbergs. He's basically naming everybody on David Icke's reptile list.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a lot of what he says feels very David Icke to me.
Really?
You have not listened to this footage since the evening that we recorded it.
No, I haven't.
So, yes, you will. You're gonna be. I think that you will too be reminded of our dear friend David Icke. And here we go.
It's absolutely possible. Back in the 60s, and we talked a little bit about this on our actual moon landing episode, I think.
He dropped his hammer. Just watch him try to pick up. Go ahead. He's hanging from wires and he can't get enough slack to get it down.
My gosh. I'm on the fence. I'm going to be honest. I really, as far as the moon landing.
I became a flat earther before I knew the moon landing was fake because I never looked into it. I figured out what the Earth wasn't. Then I never looked into the moon landing. But they do it with wires. They do it with zero-G planes. They do it in swimming pools. They train in the National Buoyancy Lab. In the National Buoyancy Lab, they have the space shuttle. I mean, the International Fake Station, I call it, underwater with green screens in the pool. Why would they have green screens in a pool? And their answer is to make it look more realistic for the astronauts, but that's not how a green screen works. The astronauts couldn't even see what's on the green screen. That's done, in the computer. So they're in there with scuba divers moving around. Bubbles are popping out of their suit. So when you watch these spacewalks, you see bubbles popping out of going sideways and stuff. Sometimes you see a reflection of one of the scuba divers. It's once you look and see, then you just have to drop your belief. Belief is the enemy of knowing.
So I'm going to stop it right there really quickly to point out two things. Number one, our best friend David Icke also hates NASA and doesn't trust a goddamn thing that they say. And number two, this is where Dave starts getting into a little bit more of the real sort of hippy dippy. I don't want to say hippy dippy because it's not negative. Like hippy dippy, I feel like is not a negative thing, but this is the more woo woo kind of out there,
the hardcore fact believers of the flat Earth.
No, it's the hardcore the people who are we're getting a little mystical, a little magical soon. We're going to start getting into the mystic and the magical realm of things a little bit with Dave.
And I'm not going to say that it's not possible.
I fucking love dude, nobody loves magic more than me.
I feel like you're magic always.
I
but
fucking
that's
love
just
magic.
me.
I fucking love magic. I fucking love it. I want to believe in it. I really do.
All right.
But, you know,
If you believe in it hard enough,
then maybe it's true. You know what I mean?
I mean,
possibly, I guess.
unicorns.
But before we get into the magic, I want to point out that, like, it was so hard to ask Dave questions. I think I only cut out, like, 1 or 2 questions. And what you guys are going to hear is all of the questions that we were able to get in edgewise with Flat Earth Dave. This interview, you know, we went into it, like, in our pre-interview discussing, like, how it was going to go. And we both wanted it to be, I believe the words that we used were, like, an easygoing, friendly discussion. And, you know, what we were given was a 1-hour presentation where we were asked not to interrupt.
I do have to say, though, the presentation, I liked it.
It was great.
You know, that space that we've actually been in space, because we don't believe in space. We believe space is most likely liquid. And there's lots of evidence of that.
So the hardest thing for me to, like, wrap my brain around with this, Dave, right?
Yeah.
Is, like, what is the purpose of creating this grand lie that has been, you know, obviously being perpetuated for hundreds of years?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So that's another assumption. Hundreds of years. I interviewed a 102-year-old woman in February of 2020, just last year, and she had such an amazing memory of her childhood. I asked her what they taught her in science about the Earth, and she pointed out that they taught her that the Earth was flat.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it really quickly because, Chelsea, yes, you made a really good point. He doesn't answer the question.
No. Nope.
Eventually he answers this question, but first he tells us, like, a whole lot of really long stories about all the evidence that he has that, like, you know, that 100-year assumption, hundreds of years assumption is incorrect.
Every 100 years there's a pandemic,
There's like
right?
there's like, yeah, well,
Okay.
Here we go.
Every civilization, you know, every civilization before us, before NASA, taught a flat Earth cosmology. It was only when the NASA religion came into effect that they changed all of the wandering stars. They called them planets, plain with a T. Kind of interesting. Don't know if that means anything. But, you know, our optics have outgrown their lives. They tell scientists that they're looking deep into space when they get a telescope. A telescope's just a big microscope. Here's the star Arcturus.
He says optics outgrow our lives a lot.
He does. He's always saying our optics have outgrown their lives. It's like an empowering phrase, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says it a lot, and
He just slides it in.
it's kind of like, you know, like, we're too smart for them to keep tricking us like this.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to keep getting this over on us because we're able to see. We're smarter than this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dave,
Okay.
Dave really likes to be special.
That we live on a spinning ball, that men can live on a spinning ball. And the whole reason is because they don't want you to know how powerful you are. They don't want you to know that you are the designer of your life, that you are the creator of your life, that your thoughts have power. They don't want you to know that nobody can take away your free will. They want you living in fear.
So, again, like, we are very special. And this is, like, how I feel like this is how people get pulled into conspiracies. Because the few hardcore conspiracy believers that I know use language like that all of the time. And it's that, you know, that belief that they are truly special.
I don't know. I look at it like this. I think if it's more of an empowerment type of a thing, right?
Yeah, everybody wants to feel that way. You know what I mean?
Everybody can, I think is what he's saying. Like everybody can.
Exactly. You know, you've always wanted to feel so special, and now you can,
Yeah.
because you know the truth about flat Earth.
Fear of everything from nuclear bombs, food shortages, water shortages, climate change, asteroids, all of this stuff. Living in fear and succumbing to people that are not your leaders, people that have their own agenda, but we just, people just give up their rights. They're not allowed to take our free rights, like our free rights. They want us believing that we are spinning out of control, lost in space. Just, we're, in the heliocentric model, we're spinning, we're orbiting, we're chasing the sun. The entire thing's moving sideways at speeds that you can't even fathom, traveling trillions of miles every year. When you go outside and look around, you can sense that we are perfectly still, that the sky is a perfect clock.
Not to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. No problem. I talk a lot.
No, I love it. I love your passion. It's very, very nice. But all of that stuff, I mean, they could, control us and, create fear and all of these things if we're living on a flat Earth. Right? I mean, what in particular, like, I don't understand, like, the globe and this, like, intricate lie that now.
Fucking duh, right? Like,
yeah, the shape doesn't matter.
Why does it matter what the shape is?
I don't think it does.
They hate God, and I'm not a religious person at all, so don't go there. It's they hate the fact that we are created. We are at the center of creation and we have true power. They want to deny that. They don't want us in a position where you can't deny the creator. There is a creator. Whoever that is, that's your own journey. I'm not here to tell you who the creator is. But we live in a space where we have a soul in us. And I said that soul is a spark of the creator. That's the way I look at it. And we're here expanding the mind of the creator, having this experience here in this realm. And we have amazing abilities to manifest things. If we knew what our true history was before the last reset, we would be like, we're at the lowest point in civilization ever right now. Right? There was a worldwide civilization here called Tartaria, 150 years ago, maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there before we get into like fake history. Just
the
reset. Oh my god, just to like point out like that we are continuing with like this same language, like the same type of language again, over and over again.
Yeah,
and with the entire world was united as one, but some reset happened and the people that came out on top decided to hijack that all from us and turn us into serfs, into slaves. And that's what's going on. So the shape of the earth doesn't matter. It's the lie that matters. If I put a fence around your yard and said you can't leave your yard, you're going to be pretty pissed, right? And if I made that fence 500 miles around, you're still going to be pissed. I don't care how big I make that fence. If you know there's a fence, you're like, I don't want to be fenced. I'm a human. I can go anywhere I want. Well, what if there was more space beyond the world that they tell us? What if there was outer space here on the earth plane? The earth is a pond. All of the islands are surrounded by water, but all of the water is surrounded by land. Right? The edge of the pond is Antarctica. Antarctica could very likely be bigger than all of the oceans and continents combined. Or maybe Antarctica is only 1,000 miles wide, and then there's other oceans and extra territory.
Okay, so this is a suggestion that like the purpose of this like what did you call it? Heliocentric?
Heliocentric is the globe model.
Okay, so the purpose of heliocentrism is to contain us within this innermost.
Yeah, this is a map,
area.
Japanese map that was found and published in a New York journal before it was the New York Times in the 1950s, right?
So this, for anybody listening, it looks like, our Earth as we know it in the center, and then, Antarctica.
Another 50 continents
and
outside
another layer
of Antarctica.
Exactly.
Right.
I can dig it. I mean, I'm just going to put it out there that, I get I absolutely agree, Dave, with what you're saying as far as they, whoever they might be, the government, what have you.
The banking families, the royal families, the Rothschilds, the
Yes.
Zuckerbergs. He's a grandson of Rockefeller. I mean, they're all connected, all of this. And
Chelsea
they,
Potts, when we started this, you were like, no, I don't believe that the earth is flat. And now you're 150% on Dave's side.
she's not. No, she's not. She's hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's taking in new information. And here's the thing. Don't believe me. You got to verify this stuff yourself. You got to digest it. And here's the thing. People say flat earthers, you'll never change them. They can't change their minds. No, we were all globers. All of us. Every single one of us was a glober. Okay. And now we've changed our mind based on new information. Here's the thing. When I heard about flat earth, I said, well, there's 5,000 reasons the earth is a globe, boats over the horizon, sticks and shadows, day and night, seasons, sunsets, all of this stuff. But then when you look into it, you're like, half of those only make sense on a flat earth. The other ones prove the earth is flat. Okay. It's unbelievable.
These visuals he showed us with the sticks and the shadows, my mind went to jelly. Like, I was just like, am I that stupid that I can't understand this?
Well, okay.
Or did he make it?
It was complicated yet incredibly simple and so boring. Like, part of me feels terrible because there were certain points in the explanations that he was giving us where I was just like, how am I going to get him to shut the fuck up about this in a not rude way?
Wow. I was more or less just trying to understand, But
it was I thought it was dumb. I don't know. It was because it was. Check it out yourself. So the full video again. The full video, unedited interview. We are giving Dave his space to be heard. Is on our YouTube, and the visuals. We're putting it on YouTube because the visuals help.
Yeah.
He relies heavily on visual aids. He's all about this app that he has. And he uses it throughout his presentation that he gave us. So, you can go check that. You can go check that out there.
If the earth was a ball, a boat would disappear as it goes over the horizon, just like Bill Nye the Lion Guy with the bow tie tells us, right? But there's other reasons it disappears, and it has to do with how our eyes work, angular resolution limits, wave front edges, the thickness of the atmosphere. It's unreal.
Now, Dave, let me ask you in reference to the moon, and forgive me if I don't mean to.
No, go ahead.
So for a person who believes that the earth is flat, would that person also believe that the moon controls the tides and things like that as well? Like how the moon phases affect the tides of the oceans and different storms, different things like that.
Yeah. So the whole thing about tides, let me just show you real quick on the app. If you hit the question mark button on the app, up come all of the questions. Hey, what about eclipses? Or what about tides? Right?
Okay.
If you hit what about tides, up comes a playlist that YouTube doesn't want you to see that explains what causes tides and how the tides are not caused by the gravity of the moon.
Yeah. You see what I mean? He's so ready. He's got playlists of video after video set up that they definitely don't want you to see that will prove all of these questions to, he didn't even answer your question. You know what I mean? He just
he pointed me to the app, which I mean, hey, it's a very thought out.
I mean, I guess it's cool, whatever. He's trying to plug the app. That's fine. Okay, so the next part of the interview is where Dave starts to make some confusing points, and at a certain instance, he starts to feel like he's convincing Chelsea, and you're gonna hear him say "Welcome to Flat Earth," because he has like stumped her with his riddle or whatever it was that he said. I don't even remember.
This is why I say I'm gullible.
It was like kind of corny. He like gave you a little riddle and like you had to think about it for a second too long, and so he started to like get into like how he's correct. But I wanted to like illustrate in here that he's gonna start to get like frustrated. This is where, and maybe he's not, maybe I'm like reading too much into the way that he's delivering this message, but this is the first time in the interview, and I did watch a lot of Dave interviews after we did this one. Like, maybe I should have probably watched them before, but after we had ours, I did watch a lot of his interviews. And when people seem to not agree with him, this is like a common way for him to kind of shift it into gear.
Well,
Thank Thank you. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Well, Chelsea Potts and myself may not be able to explain that, but I'm sure that there are people.
Don't give away your common sense to nonsense. You're smarter than that.
Well, Dave, you're asking me to give away my common sense to you. Nothing that
No, I'm not. I'm pointing out some things and you can go look into them. What I'm saying is, that Chelsea is like, this doesn't make sense. Here's the thing. Belief is the enemy of knowing. Did I tell you where I live?
Mm-mm.
I did.
Yeah.
I live in
Connecticut.
Okay. Do I live in Connecticut?
You have such a good memory.
Do I live in Connecticut?
Well, you told us that.
Would you bet your life on it?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. Right. So, but you believe me because you can see my face. I'm not covering my face, right? You can see my face and you're a good judge of you're using your heart brain. They don't want you to know that your heart can sense more than your brain. Your heart tells your brain what to think. Your gut senses things that haven't even happened yet, but they don't want you to know that those brains are more powerful than the brain in your head. So you can just believe that I live in Connecticut, and you know what? You're right this time. But if we're listening to the lies of the elite, you can't just believe them. You have to verify, but everyone just believes. Belief is easy. You can go smoke pot for the rest of the day, take a nap, do whatever you want. You have nothing else to do. But if you want to verify things, it takes time, effort, and critical thought. And people are lazy and trusting.
That was a stab.
But this is what I mean. Like, he's starting to get annoyed. Like he's taking little shots at us for being potheads. Like he's like, and he's definitely, he's he's basically, look at Chelsea, look at this critical thought as she's like opening her mind, she's expanding her idea, like he's like praising you for kind of almost agreeing with him.
Yeah, I've hit nirvana at this point.
Right? Like you have reached another level of consciousness because of this, you know what I mean? And I'm just like not getting it.
You're right. So who are they though? This is my question.
This is the royal families, the Bilderberg group, the council of foreign relations, the banking families. These are the people that took over the earth. Are they royal? I don't think so. I think they just stepped into shit after the last reset.
But that's not when like a global earth model began.
No, the earth was created. I don't know how long it's been here. Is it 5,000 years? Is it 50,000 years? Is it 5 million years? Or is it 500 years? I couldn't tell you.
So as far as flat earth, and so being a believer of flat earth, do you believe that there was a Big Bang? Like, do you believe, not in the sense that it's advertised?
I'm going to tell you something less spectacular than the creation of the earth being an accident. A tornado goes through a New York City dump yard and creates 5 jumbo jets in perfect condition. That's less spectacular than this place that we live being created by an accident, by randomness. This place was intelligently designed. We are here in this, whatever it is. I'm not saying I even know what it is. I'm telling you, I know what it's not. It's not a spinning ball flying through an infinite space vacuum with just silly stuff. And again, we can prove it. We catch NASA lying all the time and faking things on the International Space Station. They're faking gravity. They're faking all sorts of stuff. They're faking no gravity or zero G. They're using green screens. They're literally just lying to our kids and to us, and people just believe it. And it's time people, strapped on some big boy pants and stood up and said no to this, because they're controlling our minds. You know the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves?
Yes.
You're familiar with it, right? At the beginning of the movie, Neo knows something's wrong with the world, but his brain is still stuck in the Matrix. It's stuck in the Matrix. He doesn't know where he lives, who he is, what he is. He doesn't know anything other than he's trapped in the Matrix. We are literally in a prison for our mind, and that's the globe. Okay. They don't want you to know the power of your mind. Your body is the most amazing thing over. We're told that our brain does all the thinking. That is nonsense. Our brain takes care of some of the physical functions of our body, but that's not where our thoughts and our intuition comes from. Our heart brain, our gut brain, our myofascia brain. We have brains. Our whole body is a working brain system. And they don't want you to know that. They want you to just trust these liars that hate us.
I don't know if I was taking him too literally.
Trust your myofascia brain. What does your myofascia brain tell you?
I'm not sure where that could be.
I believe it is your heart brain. He says heart brain a lot, so I mean, I assume it's in your heart.
I get the intuition. Like, I get to trust your intuition. If you catch a bad vibe, you know what I mean? Like, I get that. But
yeah, totally. If you catch a bad vibe, get the fuck out of there.
yeah. Like, I'm with him on that. But I don't know about the fact that space is liquid. Like, I don't know. I don't think I'm on board with that.
Well, let's just see what else he has to say.
All right.
That are controlling us, and they're literally trying to reset us right now. It's called the Great Reset. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention what's going on in the world, but people are just going through every 100 years. This happens. 100, in 1920 and in 2020, everyone's wearing masks. Everyone's getting vaccinations, right? In 1920, we had the Spanish flu, and everybody was wearing masks. Everybody was getting vaccinations. The motto then was,
Okay, I'm gonna stop it for 1 second because this is like so scary. Like, what is this like reset? I'm sorry. Hello?
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned about that when he started chat. That was a little scary.
It's gonna come back up.
The fact of every 100 years there's a new plague. Well, I mean, let's realistically look at every century. There's new people.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, when we did when we did COVID-19 part 2, where we interviewed our friendly
Neighborhood
virologist, he let us know that, like, when it comes to pandemics, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
True.
you want to save our, you don't want to kill our war heroes. All the boys are coming back from the war. They were sick from being in foreign lands, or maybe they were sick from all of the jabs that they got, the vaccinations. And then there was a massive die-off, far bigger than our history books tell us. 1820, cholera. 1720, plague. Every 100 years, they reset society for some, maybe because they need to wipe out all of the people that are waking up, like all of us flat earthers, Chelsea, and they're trying to reset the world again and maintain control. Because here's the thing: what difference does it make? I just went to the Flat Earth conference down in South Carolina a couple weeks ago, and it was filled with awake, aware people that all have unplugged from the Matrix. They don't buy it anymore. They don't comply. None of us wore masks. None of us did anything that they said. None of us watch the news, because the news is where you get infected. If you want to be protected from this Rona, don't watch the news, and you will be protected. Okay. Because it's all a virus for your mind. They're controlling our minds with cartoons, literally with cartoons. They've convinced us to believe utter nonsense, and just give up our entire lives for cartoons. This is how they control our mind. These are all cartoons.
Okay, so all of this stuff is, this stuff at the beginning that we had warned you guys about with the coronavirus. It's what, we were a little bit more concerned about.
Right.
Okay, so, and next, Dave is going to get into some things that, are going to be more so focused on the youth of our country. And it's definitely very interesting when he gets into this because it feels like fear-mongering to me. And you guys can let us know what you think.
What we've known for so long, and I say we, it's just, general public, what we've been taught about the earth being a globe, the earth being a sphere. It's so hard to break away from that.
I hear you, and it's because it's the foundation of our lives. And before we could talk, they were teaching us about the earth, all the children's programming, all the books, all the schoolwork. The first worksheet you bring home is about the planets and the moon and the orbits that they take.
Right.
And they're teaching kids about gravity, and they have a globe in the school. It's indoctrination camp, right? All the space movies, all of the cartoons, everything is to convince you that you are an insignificant speck flying through a godless universe. Okay. They literally, the brainwashing is so strong. So you say it's hard to break away. You're right. It is hard, but it's not that hard. So here's the thing. I was you. You're actually taking to this faster than I did. So kudos to you there.
I just want to point out too here where he's like congratulating you and like telling you how good you're doing and that like you're doing even better than he was in terms of like accepting and taking on this new information.
Yeah.
I think that that's interesting.
It is.
I don't know if I'm 100% on board with flat earth.
You should not be if you're 100% on board, you're gullible. Okay. Right. So again, what's the number one reason that you think the earth is a globe?
Because it's what we've been taught.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've been, do you think that people have an agenda possibly,
I'm sure they absolutely could.
Do you know about the Antarctic Treaty? Do you know what the Antarctic Treaty is?
Yes, I learned that from Catherine.
When you find out the earth is flat, everything changes. All universities close, all science labs close, all religions collapse. The mayhem, it would be insane. Maybe, everything changes because there's free energy here, right? We don't have to pay for electricity. There's free energy. It's everywhere. In the 1800s, they had free energy everywhere. They had giant ships flying through the sky, right? It wasn't the Wild West. That's nonsense.
So this is like history has been rewritten. You're saying?
Not only has it been rewritten, it's been rewritten unbelievable. If you hit the web button, the middle button there, up comes a list of other resources. Bottom right, mud floods. Hit that button, and these are videos that will blow your mind. I mean, there was giants here in the 1800s. Giants, humans, giants. There's proof. There's buildings. There's video of them in the early 1900s. Right? Go look at Prague, the buildings in Prague. They were built for giants. Everything. And that's just the beginning of the deception. Your teacher probably, most likely, was not a liar. She was teaching what she believed and following the curriculum of the mind control camp, that school. They don't teach us about, did you learn about vortex mathematics or sacred geometry? No, you learned about algebra and geometry and calculus and stuff that would make you a good little worker slave for them. But they don't teach you about the real math. Go look up vortex mathematics. Blow you away. Tesla knew about vortex mathematics, right? Go look up sacred geometry. It's everything. It's everywhere. This world was built on sacred geometry.
I mean, you can study that in school.
You can, but they don't teach it in the public schools. They don't teach it in most. I mean, most people have never even heard of those things. But now we have the internet. Why anybody would send their kid to college is beyond me, right? It's insanity. You can learn whatever you want. And by the way, there's garbage on the internet, but you can find good stuff. There's good stuff and there's garbage everywhere in life, including the internet.
How do you discern between the good stuff and the garbage, Dave?
Where you test it, like at times.
Dave, I've got a question for you. To be frank with you, I mean, none of the proof that you're showing us here tonight is going to convince me beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Earth is flat. I
What is
do,
your number one
however,
proof for the globe?
but my question to
All
you,
right.
and what like I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around, is like what in your mind or in the minds of, you know, the flat earthers at large, do you think would happen if the truth was revealed, right? Like what
We-
is
we- Right. So you ever hear the term "we are the many, they are the few"? Right. The
Mhm.
people are the many, and the elite are the few. It's not true. We are the many, they are the nothing. Everyone just believes that they can control us, and it's because we're all complying. And right now, you know, if you don't comply, other civilians will be like pointing at you and ratting you out. They're becoming, you know, they've brainwashed everybody so much that they're their own captors. We're becoming the own. Everyone's becoming the prison guard of your own prison. Everyone's suffering from Stockholm syndrome, right?
are
What
you
would happen if everybody woke up? They would have no control. What if everybody just said, screw it, opening up my business, I'm doing everything, I'm not social distancing, I'm not wearing a mask, I'm not obeying anything, I'm not paying taxes, nothing. If everyone did that, they'd have
Mhm.
zero power. They could do nothing.
So you're
They could do nothing.
imagining like a utopia then?
Well, they want you to believe that utopia doesn't exist. Utopia existed in the 1800s.
Mhm. Okay.
So I'm going to stop it here for a second because I think that it's really interesting that Dave is suggesting that um, exposing the truth will lead to utopia.
Why wouldn't we want that?
Right, because it's like very, like, this is how people, you know, become religious extremists.
Sure.
Right? And this is, in a sense, you know, like kind of like governmental extremism in a way.
Sure.
Because of like the
yeah.
level of distrust that Dave has, like for like the quote unquote the system, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's this, there is like, and as we see stuff like this become more and more popular with QAnon and you know all of these things, you know, it's more and more dangerous to have these what I would call extremist views,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, and there's so many platforms in which to share them now.
Right. They're very accessible.
They want
So
you to
that's-
believe that that's an impossibility. They trained us in school to say this is what happens when you have a utopia. It always breaks up and it turns into disaster and
So
people starve to death.
So these issues then, like you know, space, global warming, coronavirus, you're saying that these things are manufactured problems like to keep us down and keep us dependent on them
To
so
keep
that
us in
we're not
control.
happy.
Yeah, to keep us in control because they put a cage around us, we wouldn't be happy. But the cage where our mind is in a cage, and that's the ball. It's the prison for our minds. The globe is a prison for
So
our minds.
how do they benefit if we are unhappy?
We're their slaves. We build things for them. They feed off. Here's another thing. This is where it gets a little crazy. Is this is an energy war. This is a war, a spiritual war. Now, years ago I wouldn't think that was even a thing, but they live off of our fear. They're pure evil.
Do you mean like
okay?
are you
Fear
speaking
energy.
metaphorically or
No,
literally they live on
literally.
human fear?
Yes,
Are they not
it's my
human?
opinion. I don't know. Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe they're just soulless. Maybe they've lost their souls. I believe that
Okay.
our goal here is to maintain control of our soul and not break anyone's free will. If you break someone's free will, you lose control of your soul. You sell your soul. Many people have sold their soul for fame and fortune, and then you become, you know, the evil side.
Okay, we'll stop it right there for one quick second to address the fact that we did all just hear that.
Yes.
We did all just hear that. And then
Yes.
we shall continue.
So our goal here is to maintain control of our soul and not break anyone's free will and expand the mind of God. This is an amazing life we have, but they want you to believe that you have to work, 5-6 days a week, go home, watch some sports, go to a bar, or used to be able to go to a bar, but they don't want us talking anymore face to face. And then go back to work on Monday and then save your money up. And maybe
So
when
you
you're,
really don't
when
think
you're,
that coronavirus is a real thing?
I think coronavirus is a real thing. It's been around every year. All right. If you look every year, the flu goes up to here and then it goes down in the summer. And then it goes back up to here, down in the summer. Every year, 10, 20 years, it happens again and again. And then this year, no flu. It's gone. What happened? Where'd the flu go? Where'd the flu go? There's no flu this year.
Well, we've
That's
been
true.
social distancing.
Yeah, that social distancing is a myth. The Florida has lower numbers than all of the places that have social distance and copied the masks. Enforced masks have the places that didn't enforce masks have lower death counts. Like New York and New Jersey and California have the worst numbers, and they're the ones that are the most strict, right? Here, this is
They have the most people.
The flu. No, that's not true. This is the flu every year, and there's no flu this year. What happened to the flu?
I've heard this.
They're cooking the books. They're moving. If you look at the number of people that died worldwide every year for the last 5 years, it's the same every year. And one more thing.
I just have one question for you because I have to know, Dave. Right. I have to know your opinion on this. Okay. So they did away with the flu, coronavirus. The masks this is something that they are manufacturing. It's basically the flu is what you're saying coronavirus is, right? And the masks they're trying to keep us down.
Coronavirus is the flu, yes.
Right. Okay. So I understand that. So what is this like cleansing that you mentioned before then? If it's just the flu, then where is the cleansing coming in? How are we being cleansed if the actual illness itself is just simply the flu?
No, it's something's going on. You know that more people die of starvation every year than have died worldwide of the coronavirus? How come we haven't taken care of that? Why don't we shut down the world for that? I mean, we've bailed out trillions and trillions of dollars. Trillions is a ridiculous number, but we can't solve world hunger. This is not about our health. If they want us to be healthy, I'd say take vitamin C, vitamin D, go out, get some sun, keep your businesses open, socially interact. We're electrical human beings. We need to touch each other. We need physical contact. We need human interaction. That's health, right? People are wearing masks, 2 masks. They're jogging with masks on because they're afraid of a healthy person getting within 6 feet of them is going to make them sick from a imaginary virus. So check this out.
Okay. I understand what you're saying here as far as
one quick question. Is your grandmother alive?
Mine? No.
Okay. Well, did your grandmother when she was alive tell you that all you have to do is put a face diaper on to protect yourself from the most deadly virus ever? I mean, look at these face masks that these guys have to wear for all these things, and then deadliest virus ever, we just put a little napkin over your face, right? But when you're sitting at a table in a restaurant, you could take your mask off, or stay 6 feet apart when you're checking your bags, but get into the sardine can and wear your little face diaper. A scam. It's a scandemic. You guys know about Event 201? Have no idea what Event 201 is. Just before this started in October of 2019 in New York City, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, along with whatever other foundation, they did a complete run through of what would happen if a coronavirus took over the world and how they would lock down the world. They ran through everything that they're doing now. They ran through the entire simulation a couple of months before it happened, and then they did it. They test ran it. They talked about shutting down social media. Yeah, it's Event 201, right? Rockefellers in 2014 wrote a paper. It's still on their website because they're pompous asses. That it's called Lockstep, all right? And it talks about everything that they're doing now.
Well, wouldn't you think though that like after Ebola, you would want to be prepared for another pandemic?
Ebola was another hoax. Do you know anyone that died of Ebola?
No.
It's all a media hoax. It's all a media hoax, right? Hospitals are empty. Hospitals are empty. You know what?
Well, Dave, we took up all of your
Yeah.
time.
All right, no
It
problem.
has been it was illuminating, I must say.
Thank you.
I love your passion. I love
You've
your
got some research to do.
we
Yes.
do.
All
right.
We do.
You can find all my stuff at theflatearthpodcast.com, the Flat Earth Podcast podcast, the Flat Earth Podcast Instagram, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app on Android and Apple phones. This is the best way to learn about Flat Earth, because if you try to Google Flat Earth, you'll end up at the Flat Earth Society, which is a controlled opposition. It's nothing what any Flat Earthers believe. And you'll end up
Yeah,
you'll end
very
up
interesting
at
to me. I wish that you would have said that earlier. I have so many questions about that because they seem sarcastic.
all right, ladies.
Possible.
All right. Good night, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Dave.
you.
I enjoyed it very much.
All right, enjoy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, that was a wild ride.
It was.
I think it was fun to like get a look into the mind of Dave, and
It's just very surreal for me to know that there's someone who truly is, full believer in the flat Earth. I'm not saying it's
he
wrong.
does
but
seem like he genuinely like believes it with all of his heart.
yeah. I mean, that was my impression, and I think that's cool. I think it's creative.
I guess. I mean,
It could be dangerous.
maybe like
but
refocus that into a different area
Sure.
or whatever.
hobbies.
I don't know.
But you know what? All in all, I enjoyed it. I definitely had some things that re-listening to it, I now want to go back and research.
I do honestly love his passion.
It is. He's so passionate about it.
I know.
He believes, he believes it, and more power to him.
All right, well, check out the full episode on our YouTube channel. Check out obviouslyitsfake.com for more information about the show. Please remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, etc. Thank you very much. Let us know what you think about the merch. Let us know what you think about Dave. Were we unfair to him? Is he like making a lot of sense? And you guys are all flat earthers and we're idiots. Tell us what you think.